Well guys, I just picked up myself a copy of F-Zero for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This is a futuristic racing game and probably one of the most classic games on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, period. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you why. Let's take a look at F-Zero for the Super Nintendo. So here we go, we see the title screen, copyright 1990, 1991. 4 vehicles to select from. I just picked the first one. There are differences between them, but I don't really know exactly what they are other than, speed, acceleration, top speed, weight, how much they bounce around, typical kind of stuff you'd expect. So like I said, this is a futuristic racing game. So you are flying in basically hover cars of some kind. Speaking of hover cars, it's 2009. Where's their damn hover cars? Not sure when this game takes place, but who knows? Anyways, this game takes advantage of the Super Nintendo's Mode 7, which is, of course, its ability to scale and rotate a background layer. That's what we see here. What we have is very fast action, unlike anything we've probably seen before, at least on a console game anyways. I did mention in my intro that this was one of the most classic Super Nintendo games, and well, why would I say that? Well, this game came out in 1990, 1991, as we saw on the title screen. And there's a couple other things that came out in 1990, 1991. That would be the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This was a launch title for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This was a launch title in Japan for the Super Famicom. Big whoop, right? Well, there must have been a crap load of launch titles for the Super Famicom in Japan. Well, guess how many launch titles there were in Japan. When the Super Nintendo came out in Japan in 1990, there was 2 launch titles. That's it. This is one of them, and Super Mario World is the other. So this and Super Mario World are the first 2 Super Nintendo games that anybody ever saw. And it's nice to see they had a launch title that took advantage of the Mode 7, because the Mode 7 really set the Super Nintendo apart from the TurboGrafx 16 and the Sega Genesis. Its ability to scale and rotate this background layer, which made for games like F-Zero and another early game. I think it might have been a launch title in America for the Super Nintendo, Pilot Wings. And so that really set kind of the Super Nintendo apart from its competitors. I mean, when you saw this, it was, so fast and fluid. It wasn't like anything that you had seen on the Genesis or the TurboGrafx 16 for that matter. So, like I said, it was nice to see they had a launch title with Mode 7, and I didn't know this was a launch title until I was looking it up, after I got it. I knew it was an early game. I definitely knew it was one of the early games. But a launch title, and the fact there's only 2 launch titles in Japan, that's crazy. You wouldn't see that today, I don't think, with the console. They usually launch with at least 10, 20 games. 2? But anyways, like I said, this would have been pretty impressive for the time, these kind of rotating graphics at this speed. Doesn't look too impressive today, but it still stands up, It's fast and it's fluid, and therefore it's fun. This is just a fun racing game. Pretty basic controls. You've got turbo boost, which you can use. There you can see this thing comes down. That's your pit area. So where you have the start-finish line, you'll have the pit area, and you do take damage in this game. Anytime you hit the walls, or anytime you hit another character, you do take damage. You can see your power bar on the top right hand side of the screen, and you're done when that's empty. So you will need to go into the pit area, and that thing comes down and charges up your energy. L and R actually kind of strife. See, I'm using the L and R a little bit there, and whereas the left and right is more like it's more like a rotation. Left and right feels more like it's rotating the whole screen. The L and R just kind of shuttles your thing left to right, sideways. In combination, they can be used to drift a little bit, but it'd be a little bit harder, a little more advanced, I guess. If you got really good at this game, you would certainly be using a combination of the D-pad and the left and right for almost all of the corners, but I just stick with the D-pad for most of the corners. You've also got the turbo boosts. You can see those in the bottom right of the screen. Underneath your men, it shows a little picture of your ship, and underneath that it shows 3 little S looking, like green S logos. And well, those are green because they're charged, and I haven't been using them. But you get a turbo boost every time you finish a lap. At least it seems like it. You may have to finish it in a certain time or something, but basically it seems like every time you cross the finish line, you're getting a turbo boost, and I'm not using them. They definitely come in handy on the straights. They last for like a good 30 seconds. It's not just like a short burst for a few seconds. It does last for enough time. You can pass probably 4 guys with 1 turbo boost. If you don't hit anything, but that's the thing, you end up going so fast. And when you hit the other cards, done. I let my power get too low, and that's what happens. But that won't stop me. We're gonna continue. We got 10 minutes to fill here, guys. So yeah, anyways, I was saying the turbo boost definitely comes in handy, but you get going too fast, it gets a little hectic. You start bouncing around off everything. Like I was saying, you hit another car on the track, and it'll send you flying into the wall, and you hit the wall and you bounce off the wall. You start bouncing all over the place. It's pretty hectic. So you gotta use those speed boosts wisely. Use them on the straights. Nice long pit there. That's the other cool thing is, every track has a different pit, and sometimes they're longer than others. So if it's a short pit, you're gonna have to slow down to have more time to fill up the power if you need to fill up your power. And of course, you don't want to slow down too much, but slow down as much as you need to get your power up where you need it. That's the key with the pits. That was pretty cool. Like Mario Kart, there is a secret to launching. If you just hold it down, full throttle, while the thing times up, when you go, you kind of stall off the line. So similar to Mario Kart, you want to hit the accelerator at the exact time to get a good launch. The music's also pretty good in this game. For one of 2 launch titles, its audio and visually is pretty good. It's a wonder they didn't come out with a sequel for this game on the Super Nintendo. Being a launch title, and doing as good as it did. It was definitely a high-selling Super Nintendo game. You would have thought by, 93, 94 they could have had a sequel. But they did do a sequel on the N64. and I believe on the GameCube as well. But I'm out of time, so